The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
From one topic to the other today, as a storm ravages the Gulf, right here, a storm of information, as always, ravages Aaron Klein Investigative Radio, and we are joined in studio right now by New York Times bestselling author Jerome Corsi, author of multiple New York Times bestselling books, including The Obama Nation during the 2008 campaign #1 election book. Before that, 2004, when John Kerry was running, you authored Unfit for Command, #1 New York Times bestseller, which was actually credited with a lot of the swift boat information that came out during the campaign. Well, now your latest bestseller is called Where's the Birth Certificate? Jerome Corsi, welcome to Aaron Klein Investigative Radio.
Aaron, great to be with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So your book has actually been credited as one of the two main reasons that Barack Obama released what he said was his birth certificate. The reason number one, of course, Donald Trump making it into a national issue. And then your book being hyped by Drudge and then becomes a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And then within 24 hours or less, Barack Obama dispatches his lawyer to Hawaii to get what they say is the birth certificate. Then the birth certificate comes out, but your book still is released with the title, Where's the Birth Certificate? So my question to you is, do you believe that what President Obama released was a legitimate birth certificate, or was it a fraud?
Well, that's exactly what I said when we released the book. In fact, we kept the title, Where's the Birth Certificate? We have been tipped off that a fake birth certificate had been created in Hawaii. And I thought, as well as Joseph Farah, the publisher of the book, that if we could get the White House to release this forged document, everything would change. It's now a felony that's been committed. I think as the American people begin to realize that the document, this PDF file and the Xerox handed out at the press conference on April 27th were phony documents, forged, pretty obviously forged. I mean, just for people listening, ask yourself, if there'd been an original 1961 long-form birth certificate in Hawaii, and the White House really wanted 3 years of resisting it, releasing this document suddenly to come clean, why didn't the White House simply authorize the Hawaii Department of Health to show the original to independent forensic experts and have it tested? Instead, they chose to show at the White House a PDF electronic file, which never existed in 1961, to claim it was a scan of the original document, which it obviously is not. Forensic experts looking at it, experts on Adobe software, have shown that the document was finalized on a Macintosh and preview software, probably imported from Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, where the document was created. Obviously a manipulated image, one that is obviously, can move the objects around. I mean, there's so many defects in this document. It's pretty ridiculous. And now I think the White House has got to defend it. The entire future of the Obama presidency depends on this being a legitimate document and the cover-ups continuing. Even today, Hawaii will not show the original document to anyone, including Attorney Orly Tates, who has filed numerous legal actions to see it.
And I have to say that this is not just Jerome Corsi. This is not just you saying that the birth certificate is a fraud because of your forensics experts. I personally hired independent forensics experts, as did WorldNet Daily, but I did myself. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know each other. And they independently verified that there were modifications made, that they found modifications on the birth certificate PDF document that was released. They can't say what the modifications were, but that already raises questions. I mean, why would there be any modifications on a document that you would think the White House would release knowing that it would be gone through with a fine-tooth comb by forensics experts? And yet it wasn't. Yet the media glaringly ignoring this issue, and not just ignoring, but first of all, can you imagine if President Bush had a similar situation and released what may or may not have been a fraudulent birth certificate? Can you imagine the number of reporters that the AP or Reuters or the New York Times or the Washington Post would hire just to check out this issue? So they're, first of all, ignoring this issue, but then if anybody brings it up, like yourself, they are disparaged, they are smeared by the media. So the question becomes, because it took Donald Trump to make it into a national issue before, and then the release of your book to follow that up, do you believe that it is a lost cause, or do you actually think that the eligibility, including the birth certificate issue, that there's some other element that can make this into a national issue come the 2012 elections?
Well, first of all, the issue, Aaron, was always kind of under the surface until my book was coming out. And I think more than even Donald Trump, I've always suspected Donald Trump was working with Obama, raised the issue up in the public mind. Then the birth certificate, even the forged one, comes out, and Donald Trump suddenly drops out of the election, says that's good enough for me, and gets a, $180 million payoff from NBC to have his show extended, his television show. Well, NBC still is owned in part by GE. GE might as well sit in the White House. The whole thing is just a little bit too convenient. The birth certificate issue is going to continue. It's not going away. I can announce here on your show we're going to be producing an electronic edition to Where's the Birth Certificate. Signs are going up even in Iowa. Where's the real birth certificate? WND is placing those there. We've got many other issues. The Social Security number. Social Security number is now admitted on Social Security stationery that the Social Security number Barack Obama is using was not issued to him. I mean, if you and I tried to do that, it would be Social Security fraud, and we'd be committing a crime. We don't have Barack Obama's passport records. We don't have his school records. We don't know where he was even all the years he was in school, what grades he got. Was he a foreign exchange student? Was he adopted? Was a dual citizen really a natural-born citizen? His father was a Kenyan. That should have disqualified him right away.
Exactly. This is what I've been saying all along. Put the birth certificate aside. President Obama has a constitutional eligibility problem that I believe needs to be dealt with. This is not about Democrats. This is not about the Republicans. This is about the Constitution and what natural born means. If it means both parents born in the U.S., as it certainly seems from the Constitution, from the founding framers, from the Supreme Court, from the philosophers that inform the Constitution, well, Obama has an eligibility issue. So, by the way, does Mark Rubio. But anyway, I want to ask you, we have to take a quick break. I want to ask you next, do you believe that Obama will run in 2012, plus so much more coming up here on Aaron Klein Investigative Radio? Continuing with Jerome Corsi, author of Where's the Birth Certificate, I believe that Barack Obama will run in 2012, absolutely. But he has been giving these strange interviews where he's talked about how he wouldn't mind being a one-term president. Jerome, do you believe that Obama will run in 2012?
I think, Aaron, it's very possible that Barack Obama may simply decide it's not worth it running for re-election. I'm going to be publishing a lot more, additional research, additional revelations, new information's becoming available. I think we're finding out additional verifying details that show Barack Obama was deeply involved in the scams of Tony Rezko, the federal felon, now that Barack Obama claimed he didn't know about. We've got dozens of pictures of Barack Obama together with Rezko, with Blagojevich. New information's coming out about the Barack Obama mansion purchase, allegations of tax fraud, very strange transactions with how this buffer piece of property that Rezko's wife bought so Obama could suddenly buy this mansion. These issues aren't going away. If Barack Obama thinks that the strategy that he can use to get reelected is the strategy they used in Kenya, where Odinga, his buddy, caused race riots when he lost the presidency in 2007, and used those with Obama intervening and Idi Amin from the United Nations to make, Odinga prime minister, co-head of state, which was a position the Kenyan government did not provide for. If Obama thinks he can do a similar thing, have race riots in the United States, stir up racial class issues, and have race riots so the people beg him, don't leave the White House, we need an African-American president, well, the trick isn't going to work.
Well, I think, unfortunately, that and some other tricks will work. And in fact, up next on Aaron Klein Investigative Radio, how those tricks will work in 2012. Hint, it's called immigration reform. Hint, it's called ACORN. Hint, it's called unions. Hint, it's called voter fraud.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.